nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all. Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Holtkamp, Gormanson,
Here.
Moody,
Here.
Odine, Prendergast,
Here.
Wolves.
For naming roads. So like the lane in there is not technically a lane to your policies. So I'll have that one overall. And I'll say that. And then on the Man Valley one, I don't think that development ties well into dry run over to the Sanctas. Once again, if you're trying to go from that new development to the Sanctas Park, which is one of your regional parks, there's not a good way to get there. You either go down to M with high speed traffic or other things. You have a pickleball / basketball court there that's next to the road. You have a community garden there when you're going to put Grow to Share, which is a community garden in there. So I'd like to see better flow from the backside of that buildings or groups to the Sanctus Park down through Dry Run and the school district property. And with that, I thank you.
Thank you.
I'll bring back the days of speech class. We personally have been part of the growth of River Falls, and we understand growth happens. Why we are here is to voice our opposition to the 3 variances requested by the developer and endorsed by the city staff in order to make this development as compact as possible. Those requests being reduced setback, reduced parking, and reduced green space. The current proposal, if within code, would require 13 plus acres rather than the current site of 10. It is our hope that you, the Planning Commission, the Park Board next week, and the City Council at the end of the month will agree to have the developer and city staff take a step back, reassess the development, right-size it, and keep it within current codes. I'll leave with 2 questions for you, the Planning Commission. What is the plan for County Road M improvements? In particular, the pedestrian walkways, which do not exist. Secondly, will the paved path from DeSantis Park be completed before the development? With the current configuration of the paved and natural surface trail, the majority of the pedestrian traffic from this development will utilize County M. Even if the paved path is completed, those in the affordable housing building, because of its proximity to County M, will still use County M as their pedestrian pathway into the house. Thank you. Thanks.
Good evening, Planning Council. My name is Tom McNamara. I'm on 92A Westwood Ridge. So I'm talking about the proposed 93 lot subdivision. So my main issue, or our main issue, would be the three proposed deviations to setback, lot size, and setback. And in just looking at the map here, I can't throw out a lot of facts and figures, but it appears that the ones houses immediately facing our own street are anywhere from 1.5 to 3 3/4 houses matching each one of our lots. So obviously they're cramming a lot of stuff in there. It's really out of character with the neighborhood. If this was like an adjacent development, you know, you could go from one type of density to another, but this is interspersed with into our lot, into our subdivision. So our request, or my request, would be that they follow the setback, lot size, and lot width requirements for them. So appreciate your letting me talk, and I'll sign if somebody else has something else. Thank you. Thanks.
Yes, I'll sign after. I am literally less than a single away from development in the East Park. I'm on 80th. I'm first off the great attached garage. My concern is the fact that you guys are constantly changing setback codes. You gotta look at it all the time. I went in, I just bought this house 3 years ago, $100,000 into it, and now you're putting this division very close to my house, where I'm able to see it. So I'm concerned about property values. How can you guarantee that this is not going to affect property? Can you hear me? Just here to listen. Okay. Well, please think of that. I'm moving about this. I think do everything that he said. It's concerning to me. I think you just uphold the standards that you guys already have set for our community and right size it. And that's it. Just keep it simple, make it look nice. So we don't, kind of make it look ugly. So, thanks.
Hi, my name is Jill Weston. I live on 64 East Woodridge Drive, and I would like to express some concerns. I, like any others from our Woodridge Drive neighborhood, attended the council meeting back here in May, where development in the field between East and West Woodridge was initially discussed. We heard assurances, quote, from the senior planner. The builder was intending to build 80 or so single-family homes in the price range of $380,000 to $650,000. No mention of twin homes at that time. Other concerns about drainage, for example, seem to have been or could be addressed, is what we're told. I, at least, I don't know the rest of the people here, but I was reasonably satisfied with the outcome of that meeting. I thought, oh, this is going to be sad. It'll look similar to our existing neighborhoods. So I wasn't a panic, yes. However, here we are, just a few months later, hearing that developer all of a sudden discovered that smaller lots and setbacks are necessary for efficiency. Plus, twin homes would be incorporated into the plan. I suspect this bait and switch tactic was in the work from start, yet just communicated to existing residents after we were so sweet talked into the original plan. It sounds as if a similar bait and switch situation might exist for the other neighborhood or the industrial park area. I don't know all the details of that. However, if the city council allows deviations from building ordinances as a matter of routine, then I feel that they should not mislead residents affected by these developers in the first place. These actions lead to mistrust of city officials as they say one thing and do something else. Unfortunately, those of us still residing in townships have no power of vote for those of you who have major impact on our futures. The proposed new plan will drastically impact our existing neighborhood for all the concerns that are outlined in a petition that has been drawn up.
Thanks. Just a suggestion. If you guys, if you have a lot more stuff you want to talk about this one, Harley's got a presentation on this before it comes up again. If that might help answer a bunch of your guys' questions, if you want to wait, you're more than welcome to still come up now, but if you'd rather wait till we get to that part of the agenda, Harley's doing a presentation. I might answer a bunch of stuff for you. So it's kind of up to you how you want to go forward.
Good evening. I'm Luann Hecht. I live at 69 West Woodridge Drive. And our concern is the pathway or the trail that's going to be just to the north of our property. Our building is really close. The setback is close to the property line. And now with the way the trail is being set up, we feel that's way too close to our house. And people are going to be just walking by and touching our stuff, we think. So that's a concern that we have. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello. I'm Luke Fesser. I'm at 70 Westwood Ridge, so right across the street from Tom and Luann. I got two concerns. One's the trail. The trail's going to be pretty much directly in front of my house because I'm right across from those guys. Not like we don't get a lot of walkers that walk around the loop now, but we're gaining potentially 90 or 80 homes, and twin homes, you get a lot of renters in. That's kind of the other thing that worries me. I don't remember the actual how many twin homes are in there, but that's a lot of renters that can change up within a year, and more people walking, more people around, just more people around all of our kind of our quiet neighborhood into doubling the size. So, yeah, don't like any of that. So, thank you.
Thanks.
My name is Elizabeth Bowden, and I have something different to talk about tonight. I just wanted to say that, while again, I also understand that growth happens, it is disappointing and disheartening and frustrating as an existing homeowner to see so many concessions being given to big developers when there are so many challenges to conform to the ordinances for existing properties. So I really would encourage you guys to look at the current zoning and the current neighborhoods and the things that we already have before we continue to destroy our valuable green space and ironically name things preserve as we're taking out neighborhood forests and things like that. There are challenges to, I live here in the oldest area of the city. And so again, as I would love to develop my property as multifamily to, it's already zoned that way, and I would like to be able to contribute to affordable housing in this community. The burdens put upon me as a homeowner who has to add completely new lines, I'm not able to use the existing utility lines that are in place. So again, I just think that we need to maybe take a broader look at all of the policies and the ordinances that we have in place and not just give, you know, these short-term gains, but really look at the long-term consequences of these for our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I wanted to be heard about this 255 family unit going in right across from, I live a couple houses down, and our backyard goes down and that creek goes, we own on it, both sides of it, and it runs into the Kinney. So what is one thing when we're gonna go through this later, I want to address that many people, that I know the wastewater's taken care of in that, but that impact on that waterway into the Kinney. So I'll be really following that. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Hoffman, 97 East Woodridge Drive. And again, I see that we want to deviate from what originally was said. And we really need to stick to the standards so that we can show land stewardship, because I feel like the city of River Falls is doing a horrible job of land stewardship. And I grew up on a 700-acre farm, and I know what conservation is. And I can tell you, looking at the picture of the plan of 93 homes, if it's improved, on a 24.8 lot, I know that neighborhood, and I know where the
Okay, anybody else have anything right now?
Real quick, Dave Spurgeon, 76 West Woodridge Drive. So our concern is traffic. I walk almost every day out down Powell and around the area. All of a sudden, with today's scenario, all of a sudden we have the new industrial park or commercial park. Now we have the preserve going in. And then right on that tail end of that, the Wildflower, which is the first time I've heard of Wildflower. But if you think about 5 years from now, the increase in traffic, it's already pretty bad out there. When you walk or ride a bicycle up Powell, there's no bicycle trail, there's no bike path, there's no walking path. You take your life in your own hands. And so I think from the density plan that this developer has coming in, y'all better look at that pretty close because it's way, way too dense. I think it should be trailed back about 25 or 30%. A, that's A. B, my wife and I looked at this developer and the commentary from people who have purchased homes from them in other developments, and it's not too good. There's a lot of complaints. Shoddy workmanship, walls not finished, doors not fitting. So we as a community need to look at that. That whole Woodridge community out there is a pretty quiet area, but not for long, not for long. So we'd like to at least get that on the table. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Matt Ferguson. I was born and raised in River Falls. I went to high school here, went to college here, got my MBA here, deployed with the National Guard unit here, and I own 2 properties, one on Woodridge Drive, one on Oak Ridge Drive. I live on Pine Ridge Terrace, and my entire family, my wife's family, all live within stone's throw of the Powell Avenue development. And so what I'd like to call out is I also, by the way, I work in commercial real estate all over the country, and I run into a lot of issues where counties and school districts are really concerned about bringing population density into their district. Population density hurts school districts because it concentrates a lot of people in one area, and the property taxes that you're going to get by having extra houses isn't going to cover the amount of cost it's going to it will take to send a child to school. So if the average household has 0.32 children, and they put 94 units into this Powell Avenue development, that's 30 kids. Now that may sound like not a lot, but the average cost to send a child to school here in River Falls is hard to properly determine, but somewhere between $7,000 and $15,000 a year to send one child to school. That's every year. And so when you add, so if you take 30 kids times those numbers between 7 and 15,000, you're looking at between $200,000 and as much as $450,000 to send those children to school. My children's school probably going to be West Side. Okay, and now the average property tax bill in River Falls is about $4,700 on the high end. So $4,700 times 93 is $437,000 in tax revenue that you're going to get, that we're going to get as a community from these additional properties being built there. Sounds like a lot, but on the high end, it's gonna cost $450,000 to send those 30 kids
2
that are gonna
minutes.
live there to go to school, right? And so, and that's if 100% of property taxes goes to cover schooling, which of course it doesn't. It's not going to be able to cover the extra children that are gonna go to that school, and our school system is gonna suffer.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is James Scott. I live on 95 West Woodridge. Pleased to see some of my neighbors came down. This is great. Thank you. With this new development going in on Powell between Woodridge and East Woodridge, with both of them, with the 90+ homes being put in, the high density. I feel, going back to what Jill was saying, that we were all kind of feeling pretty good about after our meeting here in May, that it was going to be a whole lot less than those 94 homes and the twin homes going in. And I felt we were on board with that. And we feel now with this construction business coming and completely switching around and changing it, I feel, as Joe was saying, a complete bait and switch. Get us on board and switch it around. It looks like what they're trying to do is get maximum value, get all the homes where they were going to have one home, now they're going to have 3 in that one lot. And I just feel we just kind of got bamboozled in a way. And I think that kind of shows what kind of company that is and how they're going to treat the community, not just our community, but River Falls all included. I just wanted to bring that up and say my 2 cents.
Thanks.
Hello, I'm Laura Schatz, and I live at 79 Westwood Ridge Drive with my husband Dave. We bought our home in 1992, and we've seen a lot of growth in that time. I grew up in Chicago, so I know city living, and I've loved living in a more rural lifestyle in River Falls. I appreciate it that we're a tree city, and that we have parks and trails and the Kinney, and I love that there's space between our homes to have a garden and for kids to play. And we're not living like right on top of each other. So I'm requesting that the City of River Falls deny J.P. Brooks' request to deviate from the lot size, width, and setback standards in the Powell Woodridge Drive lot. Instead, I prefer them build within the current standards that's allowed by the cities. As many people have already said, I was at the meetings in May and June where the developer said there'd be about 3 homes per acre. And now, and they showed pictures of homes with 2- and 3-car garages. So you're kind of assuming the size. Then we received this letter in September with plans for 93 single-family and twin homes that the developer is asking, the smaller lot sizes than the city allows. So my concerns with the higher density development is potential issues with congestion and accidents on Powell, limited parking in that new neighborhood, and pedestrian safety. We have a lot of people that love to walk our loop. I'm also concerned, as a previous speaker said, about the strain on infrastructure of schools and parks, emergency services, and also, we're kind of right across from the hill, and there is a river that comes down off the hill through our side yard and into the field behind us. So there's a lot of water that's already being shed into that area, not only that area itself. And the corner of the proposed new development has got to be less than a half mile to the Kinney.
2 minutes.
Thank you. So finally, following this deviation of the current lot standards undermines the public trust in the planning process. It sets a dangerous precedent for future development that unequally applies written zoning regulations. The City of River Falls mission and value statement includes act with integrity by being transparent, honest, and keeping to commitments. Also to put people first with empathetic listening, and I appreciate that definitely tonight. And also to consider future generations by leaving things better than what we find them, and to be mindful of the assets that we inherited. So we're really hoping to reach for those goals and develop responsibly. I've been helping to distribute a petition, and we just started 4 or 5 days ago, and we have, I think, 150 signatures this far, and we'll get that to you guys soon.
Anybody else right now? Okay, we'll move on. First one is a resolution regarding the plan unit development, the general development plan for Mann Valley multifamily housing development at County Road M and Discovery Drive. This is 360 Real Estate Solutions. I'm sorry, let me go back. I need to close the planning commission. I'll open up a public hearing on this one. But before you want to come up and ask some questions or statements, Harley's going to give us a presentation on this. And then after that, we'll take whatever comments you might have. Thanks, Harley.
All right, that's showing up for everybody?
Mhm.
Good. Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission. I am Harley Melhorn, Senior Planner. The first item before you tonight is Mann Valley Residential, a 255 multi-unit multifamily general development plan. The GDP is the first step in the PUD planned unit development process. And establishes the basic right of use and conceptual site design and architecture for a given project. And if approved, development is subject to a forthcoming specific implementation plan, which constitutes the second piece and finalizes the PUD. The subject site is located at the northeast corner of 4 lots. The project proposes a mix of multifamily housing typologies, including more traditional multifamily garden-style apartments, rental townhomes, studio townhomes above a community center, and a lot dedicated for income-based housing developed by Cinnaire, as labeled on the site plan on the screen. The proposed development is seeking relief from 3 code standards, those being a setback reduction from 25 feet to 10 feet. But notably, that reduction is exclusive to a small area as shown here due to the existing site constraints. Though this does technically reduce the total area setback for the lot, the only place where it's utilized is this location here. And per the general development plan, the SIP must be in compliance with this. So the applicant couldn't just say move all of the buildings to that 10-foot setback line. It's really exclusive to this place due to existing infrastructural constraints. Further, a reduction in the total parking ratio from 2 stalls per unit to 1.5 stalls per unit is requested. Our current zoning code is fairly antiquated from a parking perspective. It necessitates 2 units per dwelling unit regardless of the size of the unit. That means a 3-bedroom is parked as the same as standard parking ratios for other peer cities within our community. And that actually comes out to no reduction at all if you apply a prorated model of 1 space per studio, 1.5 spaces for 1 bedroom, and so on and so forth. Which is, again, a more industry standard modern zoning code equivalent. However, our zoning code is what it stands today, so the request is going from 2 stalls per unit to 1.5 stalls per unit. Further, a reduction in the proposed open space is requested from 1,200 square foot a unit to 837 square foot a unit. Again, to explain that a little bit, our zoning code does not consider amenitization as open space per se. It has to be usable open space, so the quality of the space has no bearing on our current zoning code's interpretation of a given amenity. Meaning something like a pickleball court, a gym and rec center is the same as an unimproved field. So hence the 1,200 square foot to 837 square foot deviation. Staff finds, in light of the aggregate density, blended density of 24.8 dwelling units per acre, this makes efficient use of the site to provide much needed housing units. Further, the inclusion of 50 income-based housing units provides for a supply of much needed affordable housing units as identified by the 2022 River Falls Housing Study, which is one of our critical housing typologies that we're lacking within the city of River Falls. Moving on to architecture, the proposed architecture features a unified style with some variation based on the housing typology. The buildings range from 2-story to 4-story, but keep similar materiality and massing. All heights are compliant with our current zoning code. Staff finds the proposed architecture is consistent with the quality and design as contemplated by both code and the comp plan. When considering an application for a planned unit development, City Code requires the proposal to meet certain criteria, those being listed on screen. Staff has reviewed the proposal and found it to be consistent with each of the criteria in sequence, and more detailed analysis can be found within the staff analysis section in the memorandum. The next step for the GDP application is to go before the City Council on October 28th. If the GDP is approved, an SIP application will be provided by the applicant and will be presented to the Plan Commission and Council. The GDP and SIP approval is required for the PUD's final approval. Finding conformance with code criteria and the comprehensive plan, staff recommends that Plan Commission forward the enclosed council resolution approving the GDP for the site to City Council with a favorable recommendation. With that, I conclude my presentation and I defer back to you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
So we'll ask if there's anybody in the audience has anything they want to talk about now with this. Come on up.
Well, just as you were going through that, I'd like to talk about the green space, the amount of green space, all that. You see the water there where that's flowing to. So if I were going to build anywhere else, and I have commercial property in Hastings, and we're all about green space and impervious surface. So if you're going to have a pickleball court or a tennis court, and you're going to say that that's equal to green space, it's an impervious surface. So you start looking at the water runoff. I just hope there's something I'm gonna look at real closely because now I got a lot of skin in the game. I'm really concerned about that. I think that's gonna be something that's gonna be tough for the builder, I think, but, I don't know if you're gonna speak further on that, but,
Harley, is there anything, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Excellent concern, completely understandable. When we evaluate a site, there's two levels of review. We have our zoning code review, which is, I call it the fluffy stuff, right? It's the stuff that makes communities, as far as the aesthetics, the setbacks, et cetera, the community building, the density. The second piece of review is our engineering standards. Those are separate pieces. And so regardless of the amount of green space, hardscape that's proposed in the amenities, they will have to meet our drainage requirement, flat out. We're not giving any deviations to any sort of retention or drainage. They will meet our standards, and this GDP is the first step in that. There's basic grading plans provided, but they have been approved conceptually by our city engineer. The SIP, which is the second part of this, will be reviewed meticulously for compliance with our engineering standards, as mandated by the state and our local codes. This will meet standards for engineering.
just, we're talking 10 acres, 255 family units. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I don't even know how you can pack that many in there and still meet the standards, but you're saying it has been.
Do you mean drainage?
I mean drainage, I mean green space, you got, is that Connecticut priority watershed? It does go into the Kinney. Are you guys, has that been something that's been talked about?
I understand your concern. All I can say on the matter is that from an engineering perspective, it will be completely compliant with our codes. We have very stringent standards on protecting our watershed, and our engineers work very hard to prevent illicit discharge to the Kinney.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else? Go on up.
So I don't really have a problem with density. I see lots of reasons for the density in terms of efficiency and so on. But the amount of open space variance is huge here. You're talking a third, basically, of what your current standards require. You're reducing it by 1/3. And I think you do need open space, green space, not just pickleball courts and other things that don't have buildings on top of them, but you need green space. I mean, you have a very difficult job balancing the needs of the developer, but also keeping in mind what other people have said here in terms of maintaining the quality of life that River Falls is well known for. And cramming 280 some houses into 10 acres doesn't sound to me like you're keeping the future and the quality of life foremost in your minds here.
Thank you.
Hi, Laura Anderson on 880th Avenue. Can I ask a couple questions before I give comment?
Sure. Harley?
Can you talk more, Harvey, about, or Harley, about how open space is in relationship to like the pickleball court? Does that, or the sport court, is that counted in the open space?
Yes.
And the dog park that is really just a fence, that's counted already in the open space?
Any space that is usable, unencumbered, is counted as open space per our code.
So they're already counting those amenities? I mean, they're calling them high quality amenities. They're quite small, but they're already counting those in the open space.
They're counting those towards the square footage, but there's no qualitative difference. Do you see what I'm saying? So they're counting it numerically, that's correct. But our code does not differentiate between an unimproved field that's just grass and an improved amenity. So they are counting them square footage wise, but they do end up being smaller due to the nature of the amenity.
Okay, so they're already counting them as amenities and open space. It's all.
Our code does not differentiate.
Okay, that helps clear it up. Are the drainage basins counted in open space?
No, typically not. It depends on the slope and how, if it's a wet basin or a dry basin. I don't know the answer on this case, and I don't want to double speak because I'm not certain. I would guess that in this case, the basin is not counted towards open space. That's my hunch, but I cannot say for certain. If it is intended to be a wet basin perennially or a large portion of the time, highly anticipate that it is not counted towards that open space threshold.
Okay. So River Falls is a great place to live. I've enjoyed it my whole life, and I recommend it. I love living here, and others should be given the chance to enjoy and protect this privilege. However, the current Mann Valley housing proposal concerns me for a couple important reasons. The first being density. Even by the city's own standards, this proposal of 255 rental units on 10 acres of land is way too much. I'm puzzled about why 360 Realty would even bring this to the table, given that they don't meet the standards the city of River Falls has set as appropriate. They're asking for a variance to reduce the open space from 1,200 square feet per unit to 857, not just for one home or two homes, but for 255. They're trying to shoehorn 255 homes in a space made for 2/3 of it, squeezing 13 acres of home into 10. Now I get this meets profit goals, but not so much quality of life, their aesthetic or community goals. And I get it, 360's job is to make money, but it's the city of River Falls' job to ensure that their plans meet our standards and actually improve our committee. I know they promised high quality amenities, but a small sport court, a dog park, and a small garden are not nearly enough to compensate for that much density that they're proposing and the variances they're asking for. Now, to say this is a good use of land feels a little disingenuous when you consider that there's over 250 acres of property that River Falls owns and is zoned as commercial and industrial right next to it. Could we spread this complex out to include some more of that to make it a little healthy and a more sensible neighborhood? 10 acres is less than 4% of that entire complex. To say DeSanctis Park is a half hour away or half a mile away. It is beautiful and it's well loved, and I hope people will use it, but it doesn't actually make it right or justify reducing the open green space where residents will actually live. While there isn't time to go into tonight, there are many reasons why open space requirements are important, or River Falls would never have bothered to introduce them. And I applaud the plan to have 50 units of income-based housing available, but it's wedged into a tiny corner, overlapping the boundary by 15 feet, and it doesn't have a welcome or incorporated feel to it. It feels like an afterthought, an embarrassment pushed into the corner. It's also on a dangerous road with no buffer of any kind. It's also 2 miles away from the city center and the services like groceries, healthcare, education, and retail for low-income people who may or may not have a vehicle. River Falls does an amazing job on the comprehensive plan with research, consultation, collaboration, and laying out how River Falls could grow and thrive for the next 20 or 30 years. And I felt really proud to read it and encouraged for our future here. And yet tonight, with this current plan that does not line up with those goals, I feel discouraged, pessimistic, and even a little angry. This plan is not up to the standards that even the city said they hold. I hope you'll pause the plan, work towards one that does actually reflect the comprehensive plan and reflects a neighborhood that we can be proud of and that people actually want to live in, not simply exist in.
Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Linda Foster, and I live with my husband on the corner of 880th and County Road M. My grandparents and parents were lifelong residents of River Falls. I was born and raised here as well and made the decision to also raise my children here. We purchased our home in December of 2021. At that time, I learned of this development. I was looking at the map online, and it was deemed medium density housing. So in my heart, I felt like, okay, this is fine. We need more housing. We can develop this in a reasonable way. But then somewhere it got changed to high density housing. The neighborhood in which we live in is a rural neighborhood, and we also have the beauty of the farming area still intact. I wish that on the people who are planning to move to this development. I am concerned about the requested deviations on the part of the developer, and I would say I would discourage against granting those because I feel it will take away that the feel of the area, honoring the history of that area as well as the green space. Um, Given this 10-acre plot of land, I feel 255 units is outrageous, and I would ask that we pause to make sure that this development is reasonable and that the people who are planning to live in this area have a nice housing option and maintaining the values of our neighborhood and feeling that they are part of the community. I'm also concerned about the safety along County Road M. We experience firsthand the speeds that are going past our home on a daily basis, as well as the unsafe walk area from the corner of 80th up to Bob White Street is very unsafe. And I worry about those families that are moving into this area without that proper walking or biking distance into the town, which is a distance away from that area. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would really encourage the commission to consider, again, the families that are coming into this community. When we look at large density developments like this, the tax revenue that, again, is going to put the burden on our schools. We already, when the school district has to ask for referendums, we have so many property owners that are really angry and upset and don't always want to pay for our really wonderful quality schools that we have. And again, I think it's just imperative to sustainability, not just of land use, but of the overall growth of the city, that when you're creating developments that will bring so many families into less than desirable circumstances for them, again, being so far away from schools, from shopping, even though I do agree with the potential for less garages, maybe means less cars, we don't see the there have been previous commitments to making River Falls more walkable and more bikeable, and that just hasn't happened. And I don't see that it is happening, even in the developments that say they're going to be more connected. That is always sort of the last thing to come. And we already have apartments that are full of families of 3 or 4 children that are in our schools, and these families love our schools. Many families are moving to River Falls because our schools are great, but we need to pay for them. And so again, giving concessions to developers for high density. I think, again, affordable worker housing is essential to growing our community. Should that office park eventually develop into factory jobs, they need a place that's convenient for work. I think that's great. But ultimately, the cost is being paid by people who do not want to pay it. And I really would encourage you to look at ways to help ease that burden.
Anybody else?
One question. 255 units, I've already signed. 255 units, how many people are completely living in those units?
mic, sir?
Yeah. If there's 255 units, how many people are going to be living in there? Roughly. You have to have an estimate.
I don't in front of me. It would depend on the unit split, which I don't have on the top of my head. I mean, you can imagine that a 3-bedroom is far different than studios. I will say predominantly this is studio and primarily 1-bedroom with a mix of studios, some 2 and a few 3-bedroom. Within River Falls, and I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but there was a regional housing study that found that 1-bedroom apartments had a very low ratio of children.
Okay.
So I mean, typically it's 1 to 2 people in a 1-bedroom. 1.5 is a decent average, but it's conjecture, and I can't make an informed guess on that, even to be honest with you.
So my lot's 2 acres. And that was standard for the town of River Falls. And there's 5 of us that live on that property. And now you're probably potentially going to be putting close to 1,000 people in 10 acres. I just want you to take that into consideration. That's a lot of people. Just a lot of people. Right size it, please.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I live on 880th. Can I get the picture up of the buildings that is being proposed?
Mayor? That one right there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now we moved to River Falls about 10 years ago. We also we're in with this group, but we live on 2 acres. The reason we moved to River Falls was because it was a small rural community, single family homes, a few apartments here and there. And as we've moved here, since we've lived here, we now have classes and my note taking. We have the Upland, we have the Current, we have Milltown Residences, which is a 360 thing. Those 3 alone still have 49 units available. Then we have Thompson Heights going in. We have with twin homes. We have Brook Green Townhomes going in. They already have what is finished are still available. So we have all these units coming in. We have the twin homes going in on, can't remember the name of it. The Preserve. And then now this Woodbury looking building, I see these going up in Woodbury. So I don't know if we're trying to become Woodbury, but to me, River Falls is very small, not small thinking, but people come here for the river, for the kayaking, for the, 255 people in this plus all the 93 and all that. Are these people that are living in these places contributing to River Falls? Are they working in River Falls? Are they paying the taxes in River Falls? We've had people talking about the schools. What about the fire department? What about the police department with all these people coming in, more traffic? Now, I'm a homeowner, so I'm paying taxes.
2
Are the
minutes.
renters paying taxes? So that's my 2 minutes are up. But please, I don't want to live in a place that looks like Woodbury.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. I'll close the public hearing and reopen up the council hearing. And I'll take a motion on this and then we'll have questions and comments. No motion? Okay. We'll move on. Next thing, I'll close the council hearing, or sorry, not council, but planning commission hearing, and open up a public hearing on resolution regarding the plan unit development, general development plan, and preliminary plat for Wildflower Meadows, a 93 unit single and 2-family neighborhood development on Powell Avenue near Winter Street. And yep, Harley's gonna give us a presentation on this.
Do we need a disposition for that item, whether tabled or not? Or can it?
So I'm assuming that the plan commission is looking for this to go to council with no recommendation?
No recommendation.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Mayor, members of the commission, next item before you tonight is Wildflower Meadows, a request for a general development plan and preliminary plat approval for 93 and 93 lot single family subdivision. The GDP is the first step in the PUD process and establishes the basic right of use and conceptual site design and architecture for the project. And if approved, development is subject to the specific implementation plan. The subject 24.5 acre site is located on the north side of Powell Avenue between East and West Woodridge Drives. The proposed single-family subdivision consists of 93 lots in total, split between 61 single-family and 32 twin-home lots, as shown in orange and purple respectively. The subdivision features 2 vehicular access points off of Powell, with a 3rd emergency access off of Woodridge, West Woodridge that is. Stormwater is intended to be handled in the 2 outlots along Powell. The subdivision will be constructed to our neighborhood design standards, with sidewalks on both sides and adequate road width to park on both sides. A small pocket park is also proposed in the southern third of the development just north of the storm pond in Outlot 1. The small park will be installed and improved by the developer at the time of Phase 1 build-out. There are 3 requests for flexibility as a part of this PUD. First, a reduction in the minimum lot size from 7,500 square feet to 6,250 square feet. A minimum lot width reduction from 75 feet to a minimum of 50 feet, though there are multiple lot widths within the development ranging from 60 to 50. And setback deviations including measuring to the foundation rather than the overhang, and a 5-foot corner side yard setback on the corner of the twin home lots. Staff has reviewed the requested flexibility and found them to support the goals of the comprehensive plan in providing efficient use of infrastructure and the provision of dwelling units. While we have not yet amended the zoning code to be in line with the comprehensive plan, we have reviewed this in line with comprehensive plan guidance, while we work on amending the zoning code to be in compliance with our guiding documents. More details on this can also be found in the staff memorandum. The proposed architecture features a unified style with the use of high-quality finishing materials and architectural embellishments. There are numerous variations on the chosen vernacular, keeping a strong identity while crafting various elevations to prevent visual monotony. The floor plans range from 1,300 to 3,000 square feet in size, and staff finds the proposed architecture to be consistent with the quality and style contemplated by code, the comp plan, and surrounding character. When considering an application for a PUD, City Code requires the proposal to meet certain criteria, those being listed on screen. Staff has reviewed the proposal and found it to be consistent with said criteria. A more detailed analysis can be found within the staff memorandum. As I've mentioned, the applicant is also seeking a preliminary plat as a part of this request to set the layout and outlot dedication for the development. No subdivision variances are requested as a part of this request. Municipal code also requires preliminary plats to be evaluated on certain criteria. City staff has examined each of the criteria on screen and found them to be consistent with code and there to be no concern. The next step for the GDP is to go before City Council on October the 28th. If the GDP is approved, an SIP application will be submitted by the applicant and will be presented to the Plan Commission and the City Council. The GDP and SIP being approved is a requirement for the PUD's final approval. Finding conformance with the comprehensive plan, staff recommends that the Plan Commission forward the enclosed council resolutions approving the GDP and preliminary plat for the site to the City Council with a favorable recommendation. With that, I'll defer back to you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. So now, anybody in the audience hasn't already come up and talked about this? Come on up. If you got something new, sure. Looking for new stuff.
I'll just be quick. So I'm reacting to the 50-foot wide lots. So when I was a kid, we lived in South Los Angeles, and then we lived in Minneapolis. Both had 50-foot wide lots. And then we lived in suburban Chicago. So we specifically like River Falls for the larger lots. And why on earth are we trying to jam in 50-foot lots? It's totally out of character. It seems like a money grab for the developer. And I just don't understand it other than a quick dump and run by the developer. Jamming this into our neighborhood, it just totally doesn't fit, as everyone has said. And we all, every single one of us has come up, has objected to it. I don't see anybody that's come up here and been in favor of it. So that's all I've got to say.
Thanks.
Lived at 60 West Woodridge, and I was kind of flabbergasted when I seen Harley put this picture up of all the houses. And the lot size is going to be 50 feet. There's a double and a single garage door there on one of these buildings, and on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the buildings they have those on there. Can't physically put that on the lot. Excuse me?
Can you please speak into the microphone?
You can't physically put that on the lot, that big of a building. how far are you gonna be from the next building right next to you? What's gonna happen when somebody gets a fire?
Well, that's why they're looking for the setback to go from, what is it, 25 feet to 10?
There's actually very little setback reduction on the single family homes. It's just the twin home corner lots that are deviating. And then it's measuring to the foundation, not the overhang. As per most codes, our code just kind of has that little hang on. It is meaning fire separation. And further, 1.5 garages is typically 30 feet and a 32-foot apron, so it actually is feasible to fit a 2.5 garage on said lot.
And what about the rest of the house? Just saying, just what about the rest of the house? Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else?
I just want to ask a question to clarify. How big are these houses? How many square feet? Foot?
They range from, my understanding is 1,350 to about, I think it's around 3,000, and I believe that's with a finished basement. So found from a slab perspective, you're looking 1,350 to probably 2,500.
Are these houses all on slabs and no basement?
No, as aforementioned, that 3,000 is likely with an improved basement,
So you're counting the basement as the square footage?
if it's finished. But again, at this stage, this is a GDP. We don't have the specific floor plans until the SIP.
Could you get back to me on the next question would be, how much total green space is there considering the volume of stormwater runoff on the property? And how much green space is that small park? Because with that many people there, and you multiply, figuring 3 to 4 people per home, and the amount of cars, I would like to know that information.
Okay, anybody got anything new?
I would just really like to, again, encourage the commission to challenge these developers to think creatively. I know that there are planned communities on small spaces like this. I understand why people are so reactive to me, I struggle to reconcile the design of the houses and the design of the community. I think, I know that I have seen examples of much more creative thinking, where they're not taking a traditional suburban style home that looks nice on, a half-acre, quarter-acre lot, and then cramming it into this smaller scale development. I really, really, really would love to see the commission challenge developers to come to them with creative solutions.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commission members. Eric Amundson, 500 Marcella Court, River Falls. This isn't necessarily in my backyard, but in my area, town where I live. I've thought a little bit about this. I don't have a ton of knowledge on this, and so I'll do more research depending on where this goes from here this evening. But a couple of my concerns, I'm okay with the corner setbacks from 15 to 10. That's fairly reasonable. But when you're talking about going from 75 feet down to 50, that's extremely high density. And one of my concerns is that the current housing in that area, you're talking 1, 2, maybe 3 acre lots that these homes are on. And now we want to put in high density into what was at one time a pretty open and spacious rural development that's there. So just a little concern. Like I said, don't have a lot of information yet. I just found out about this recently, but I do not support going from 75 feet to the 50, and just concerned again, like I said, about the amount of density that's there and how that impacts what is currently a pretty open development with the housing. So thanks for your time.
Thanks.
Hi, I do have a question. Um, If this goes through with the current recommendation, will current homeowners on current properties be able to expand their homes to these kind of setbacks? Will that be so we can all really add additions and people that have a 2-acre lot could put 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 houses on it?
They'd have, it's not funny, you'd have to go through the same process they go through. You'd have to
And
go
would
through the
they
same
be,
process.
I would hope they'd be given the same consideration for variance. I mean, if this goes through, I'm assuming that's what's going to be coming in your direction.
Anything else?
Hi, my name's Deb. I live over on M, closer to Distinctus Park, and I'm concerned about having these big buildings here too. Where in Distinctus Park, that originally was only supposed to be, I think, twin homes and only 2 levels, and it's 3. When that went up, we all went, "Oh my God, this is awful!" And now you want to put a 4-story building close by it. I think we should stick to what we have. There's reasons why these were already approved, and these developers constantly get deviations from things. And honestly, the lady that was just up ahead of us, as a single homeowner, we wouldn't get the same consideration. So please think about this and reduce it and make it be the way it's supposed to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. And I live out there too, and nobody goes 35 miles an hour, and you put that many more cars and vehicles there, it's going to be a disaster.
I just have a facetious question. Well, how'd they come up with the name Wildflower Meadows when it's far from being anything but a meadow? You know, I mean, it's like it's like a misnomer or a oxymoron or something. I don't know, but
Okay.
seems like you
let's-
could
let's
come up with
stop-
something different.
Let's stop wasting everybody's time. If anybody's got anything new, come on up.
Hi, my name is Dylan James. 58 or 50 East Woodridge. My concern is about the park size. We'd just like to in for a little bit more. I'm kind of trying to read this. It's showing park size with open green space. What is the size of that park going to be?
Off the top of my head, I believe the actual usable space in the park is going to be around 6,800 square feet,
Okay.
including a small play area.
I would just like to request that you guys consider maybe, I have a 1-year-old, I love going to the parks. If we could kind of work into the plan to expand that, so that all the 180 people that are coming, plus families, can enjoy a nice spot for everyone. Thank you.
Thanks.
Laura Schatz again. Just wondering if you can clarify like what the next steps are and what impact that we might be able to have in helping you make a good decision that's favorable to our neighborhood.
The next step from here is for the city council to hear it on October 28th. That will be for the general development plan, which is the first step in the planned unit development. The SIP will then later come, assuming the GDP is approved by city council, which will then again go to plan commission and ultimately to city council for a final determination. The PUD is not approved until both the GDP and the SIP are approved. In the SIP, the specific implementation plan must be substantially conformant to this plan that they're proposing here tonight. City council is a separate body, so they'll act separately.
Sir,
They're going to be there.
can you please come to the microphone? Thank you.
So the next step in the process is how do we make sure that our concerns that all of us have voiced here get to the city council, like unfiltered? Because there's a lot of, I think everyone here is objected to this, but how is that going to be communicated to the city council so we just don't show up and it's a done deal? Approved.
I suppose two things to that. The mayor does chair this meeting. And then secondarily, it is a public meeting, so you are able to come to that meeting as well before they vote and speak on your behalf.
Yeah, and there's going to be a petition presented with like 150 plus, if not more, by, shortly against this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gary Ebel, and I wanted to also voice my concerns about these proposals. I do have a question though. You talked about continuity within the developments, but how do you, consider continuity with the established developments that are around the area and how it affects or impacts, values and things like that?
Yeah, yeah. Fine.
Yes. Our fundamental guiding document is the comprehensive plan. That is a rolling plan. Every 10 years in Wisconsin, it's updated, and the groundwork for it is done before that. But it is the community vision as set by both residents and council. It is a monumental effort whereby every facet, and there's certain statutory facets that are mandatory to consider for a city. Ours is even more robust than is required. And the last one went through in 2023 under the Focus River Falls Initiative, and thereby we establish a number of guiding documents that the city's growth will be guided under for the next 10 years. As a part of that, in this type of small lot, single family home was evaluated as the most cherished type of housing within our existing stock in River Falls and the type of development that residents requested highest. So when we talk about continuity, the guidance from our residents and our executive decision makers and our advisory bodies all are distilled down into that comp plan, and we ensure every single development in the city is conformant to that plan.
But how do you set up continuity between other developments that are already there though? Because it seems like you're talking about high density, but now the surrounding areas are all large lots, 1 acre or more.
This is about 3 dwelling units an acre, which is not considered high density.
I'll just add one thing about the comprehensive plan and the density compared to the neighborhood that's surrounding it. These homes are going to be served by city sewer and water, whereas the neighbors, around there are served by well and septic. So we need to take that into consideration if we're extending public utilities to a neighborhood, the efficiency of providing that service.
And Mr. Mayor, briefly, if I may,
Yes.
I just want to reiterate, because it can get hard when we have a lot of these specific questions. And I probably should have mentioned this in my presentation, but I just want to clarify, the site is zoned R2, which is our medium density residential categorization. The site can accommodate up to 12 dwelling units per acre if they wanted to do apartments. They have that land right. The developer herein is requesting a single family subdivision. Our code as it stands today does not differentiate between R1, R2, and R3 single family development standards. In the future, it likely will. And certainly in the future, it will, at the very least, be in line with our comprehensive plan guidance. But I just want to reiterate, this site is zoned R2 medium density as designated both by our official map and our future land use map.
Thank you. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Commission. My name is Paul Tabone with JPB Land. We are the development arm for JP Brooks Builders, 13700 Reamer Drive in Maple Grove. I imagine that I have 2 minutes, just like everybody else has had. So I will go ahead.
If you can make some people happy, answers some questions.
I'm happy to stand, and I wanted to address the Commission, introduce myself, and then let you know that I'm available to stand for questions, and I can take a crack at addressing some of the questions and comments if that's something that you'd like to have. So I'm going to try to kind of distill it down into a few different categories because we've covered a lot of ground in the last half hour, 45 minutes. So there were comments made on setbacks, lot sizes, and overall character of the neighborhood. I appreciate staff bringing up the fact that the site is zoned R2. We're coming in at a much lesser density than would be allowed under the current regulations. Townhomes and apartments are something that we looked at, but decided against it. Given the character of the surrounding area with single-family detached homes, we thought that would be the best approach. One thing I wanted to bring out, there was a comment about minimum lot sizes. Now, the minimum lot size in this community is 6,250 square feet on a lot. Many of the lots, as you can see on the preliminary plat, are actually larger than that in terms of square footage. But if you have your basic standard of, I think it's like 50 by 125 is our minimum lot size, that's where that kind of comes in. The twin homes, I wanted to address those for a minute. That's based on information The decision to add the twin homes was based on information that changed during the course of our market analysis. There are other builders in town that are building twins. I think Creative and EV Homes are building twin homes. They're under development right now. We were looking at another piece of property in town where we were looking at townhomes and twin homes. That one ended up not coming together. We realized a market need and thought that maybe that was an opportunity to kind of diversify the housing stock in accordance with the city's housing study that we had reviewed and with the market data that we're seeing. There were a couple comments made on the crosswalks. We are contributing those to the city in addition to about $250,000 in improvements for Powell Avenue. So we believe, and we've worked very closely with staff to work to make sure that future traffic issues will be alleviated through that contribution and through the future improvements for Powell Avenue. And we believe, contributing our fair share and an approximate cost to that. There were questions about the parks and trails. The park itself is roughly a half acre. The Northwest Trail Corridor is just under a half acre. There was the concern about the trail that was kind of near one of the ladies' homes. I believe it's the same person that I had replied back to. The trail does curve to the south. However, I'm going to talk to my engineer about maybe trying to straighten it out right down the corridor in the northwest, or maybe bend it to the north a little bit so that they don't feel it's so close to their home. So that we're aware of that concern, and we're looking into that with our engineer right now. There was a comment about the stormwater modeling and the runoff and flooding. The ponding area itself is roughly 2 acres. Typical, I guess, on a 25-acre site, that's actually a little bit more than what you would see for storm ponding. When you typically do some land planning for a site, it's typically between 6 and 8%. That's a general rule of thumb across the industry. We're actually a little bit higher than that at 2.5 acres of ponding, or 2 acres of ponding. I guess we're coming in right between 8 and 10. So we are on the high side of that percentage. We have run the stormwater modeling. We've met a couple of times with city engineer and worked through that. And we believe that our modeling is adequate, and our engineering team is aware of the fact that there's water in the area. Couple of things to bring up with that, and I'm not trying to get too far into the weeds because I'm not an engineer, but pretty familiar with some of the stormwater coming through here. We do have an oversized drainage and utility easement with a swale on the eastern portion of the site to address that stormwater concern. In the existing condition, there's a whole lot of stormwater that's coming down the east side of the site from some of the culverts in the area. And so we are working to make sure that that's adequately addressed, and adding stormwater infrastructure such as catch basins and lines that will convey that stormwater runoff during a major storm event into that pond. And so we believe that we've adequately planned for that, and we'll continue to work with staff as we move forward with final design. I think that's most of it. There were comments about strains on infrastructure, parks, services, fire, police. There are impact fees that would be associated with that. We are making again, not only are we dedicating a public park, but we're also building a play structure, or we have the prototype included in our proposal to the city. And we're working through that as well. So we believe that that will be a pretty nice public benefit, in addition to the trail corridors and the sidewalks on both sides that staff has communicated to us is very important to the city, and that we're working with them on in terms of the design and the overall vision of the community. So I covered a lot there. I'm trying to keep it short, but I wanted to try to alleviate the comments and concerns that were brought up during public hearing. And I'm available to stand for any more questions as well.
Okay, we'll keep you on our back burner.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And I guess as we're moving forward, we are excited to be here. It's a great site. River Falls is a place that we're really interested in being. The staff has been great to work with, and we would very much appreciate your support this evening.
Thank you.
Hi. My name is Mary McNamara, and I live with my husband Thomas, who's gotten up a couple times and spoken. 92A West Woodridge, so I'm mostly concerned about the development proposed between the east and west and then north of Powell. We've just been in River Falls for a little over 3 years, and we really do enjoy the small town flavor. But I want to say too that River Falls, I know you're this town is very proud of the nature that is currently here. Near the Kinney, the whole surrounding area. And it just seems, we haven't been here that long, but it seems like it's rapidly disappearing and being replaced with homes that could be anywhere. And I know you do consider yourself a tree city, and we love the trees, we love the nature. The deer, the animals, they need some land too, and it just seems like it's all going very fast. And at what price? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Gerald Gilbertson, 93 West Woodridge Drive. I just want to know what happened to our green space that River Falls brags about. All of a sudden, we got someone coming in here is building homes that you can't hardly get a golf cart between the two houses, side by side. I have no problem with Collinswood. That's a beautiful spot. That's awesome. Sterling Ponds, awesome. But you got something like this coming in, you might as well put up townhomes that are on top of one another. I've been living on my place. I was one of the second, third ones that built on Woodridge Drive. And it's a beautiful spot. We got a great road around, awesome families in our whole area. You got something like this coming in that don't make sense for River Falls. That's all I got to say.
Thanks. Okay, does anybody have anything new? Okay, we'll move on. We'll close the public hearing on this one, and we'll open up the planning commission, and I will take a motion on this so we can have a discussion. Okay, I'll make a motion for resolution regarding the plan unit development agreement between, development plan and preliminary plat for Wildflower Meadows, a 93 unit single and 2-family neighborhood development on Powell Avenue North. Do I hear a second? No discussion then? Nobody wants to talk about it? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, point of order.
Yep.
If I approve, or if I second,
Yep.
does that mean I'm
We're
in
just-
favor of it, or?
No, all we're doing is we can discuss that and then we'll vote. If you don't want, you can just vote no or yes.
I'll second for
Yeah.
discussion.
Okay.
Just have a couple of comments I would like to make. People in the audience must think, what are we doing up here? Well, we have a comprehensive plan and we have a housing study. And we are guided by that housing study, and staff works with developers that come in, and we don't get to pick and choose developers. Developers come in, correct me if I'm wrong, they come in and they have a product and they want to build. And every day in this country, 4,000 people increase our population. Think of any town that's 4,000 population. So keep that in mind, that we have a shortage of housing in this country by 2-3 million units.
Quiet. You had your chance.
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to balance those interests of the housing study and the recommendations. And we're not trying to be, I'm not sitting up here as a commissioner. It's a voluntary, well, it's appointment. And I do it for the community, and I want good things for the community. And I'm seeing some things in these two developments that are not really pleasing me. And so I'm listening to what folks are saying, but I'm also keeping in mind that other goal that we have, or that the plans that we have, that we are using as our guidance. So I want people to understand that that's really what we're doing here. And let me swing back around to the specific plan in front of us. I'm looking at the ordinances and I'm saying it doesn't align. It's not in the spirit. However, and Harley is working with developers, bringing forth these plans, and he said something in the previous presentation with regard to parking lots per unit. And we're kind of behind the times, I think is what, where we could update that. And I think we need to do that. And we need to do that before we approve these things, because I feel like we're getting these plans and we're still saying, oh, well, we have to go back and codify that, and we'll get around to it at some point. So I think that's one thing that we need to do as a city, is recodify those things, so it's easier for us in the community to say, yeah, we agree with that. 1.5 makes sense if you have if you have a single family or a studio apartment. My son lives in Woodbury in a studio apartment. In fact, his rent is more than my mortgage. And that's a sign of the shortages that we have in this country with housing. But let me go back to that. In areas like that where there's smaller apartments, one-bedroom studios, yeah, you probably don't need two parking lots, but we have it on the books. So as a commissioner, I have to consider that. And it makes me uncomfortable when I have to vote for something that we should have maybe updated. So that's just one of the things that I wanted to talk about. And with this particular one, though, Mr. Mayor, I would like to mention that I could not vote in favor of this because of what is on the books and what I think is guiding my decision, because of those lot sizes being too small. And unless we codify it, then I would be looking at it differently. So that's where I'm coming from. I'm going to vote no on this one, and recommend that the city council not approve this.
Okay. Anybody else have anything? I think Mike said it exactly right for us sitting up here, is we try to balance what's best for the city, what's best for the surrounding communities. One of our guiding pieces of paper is a comp plan. Harley had mentioned we redid the comp plan 2 years ago now. This was, all the citizen referrals were involved with this, as many as wanted to be involved with it. They made it very plain and out there that they thought higher density was what we needed to get more homes in, for cheaper housing, for smaller housing, to get more homes in for our homeless, for people that are looking to move from an apartment building or a smaller home to something newer. That's one of our guiding things. And I agree with Mike, this is tough because we've been doing this fact of, yep, we need to do another PUD, we need to do another setback thing, and we haven't codified any of it yet. Like, I agree with Mike. Maybe that is something we need to do. I know we've been trying. It's been going on for a good year now. We've been trying to get this on the books, to get this stuff all updated. Something more important always comes up. I get that. But the more I listen, the more I hear, the more I think maybe we do need to get this up to date on our books before we have to go through more of this. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be in the same boat as Mike. I'd have to vote no on this also. But
and Mr. Mayor, I'll mention that this is also happening in the town that I grew up in, Oakdale.
Yeah,
same kind of thing where the demand for the housing and the developers have certain ideas, and the codes are lagging behind perhaps. Yep. And So it makes it harder for a commissioner to decide.
Yeah, it does, it does. Now, the only reason I vote more, like I said, is because we don't have our ordinances up to date with this, our zoning up to date with this. I like the plan. I like the developers. They've been easy to work with. They've been doing everything they promised to do. I like the way it's situated there. It would look good there. That ain't the problem. It's just the fact that we don't have everything up to date in the books. That's the only reason. So anyways.
And just one last thing I would say is that, yes, I think that's 93 units is just over the line. When folks came up and mentioned they were happy or at least mildly satisfied with what they thought was going to be a lower number in the 80s. So that's another part.
So does anybody else have anything they want to say? No? Okay. So we'll vote on this. Got a first and a second. All in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We'll move on to the planning update with Emily.
And we have a full meeting. It'll be for and then I also wanted to note that as part of the planning. Oh, one of the things that we're working on at the end of this year is working with a consultant to look at the alleyways downtown and between Main and Second and along the Riverwalk. Thinking about how those alleys are used, what utilities and infrastructure are there, and what opportunities there might be if we're reconstructing Main and Second Street, if there's opportunities to enter businesses through the alley, other placemaking opportunities, that sort of thing. So we'll be looking for that report by the end of this year.
Okay.
And what I didn't say on the microphone before is that we have a Safe Streets Action Plan Task Force meeting on October 20th from noon to 1. More information about that will be on the website in the next couple weeks.
Okay. Thanks. Anybody have any questions for Emily? No? Okay.
Could I make a motion to adjourn?
Second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we are adjourned. Thanks, guys.